he's the guy that people at ESPN can go to if they need. He's like the godfather to all the people that work there, even people like me. And he's also extremely connected in the world of college basketball, and he's also terribly knowledgeable. And he is the guy. Forget the fact that he's got a law degree and he, played college basketball. He was an assistant for Coach K on that first team that went to the Final Four in '86 after playing for Coach K. Or no, he was on the team in '86. I'm sorry. And then he coached for Coach K when they went to the Final Four with the Bobby Hurley, Christian Laettner teams. This guy has a wealth of knowledge, but also he's got a master's in common sense. So he puts out his top 68. And I bring that up because locally he's got Baylor at 25. Okay. And here's how he breaks down Baylor. With 5 wins against the BPI top 50 and 10 against the top 10, the Bears have put together a solid season despite a 16-10 overall record. 7 of those 10 losses are to ranked teams, a testament to top 20 strength of schedule put together by Scott Drew. The Bears are ranked 12th in the country in Ken Palm's offensive rating, with the top 30 standing in the net rating. Forward Norshad Omier, who we all know so well at this point, 16 points and 10 rebounds. That number's good for 10th in the country. That's his first season at Baylor. He also spent 2 seasons in Miami and at Arkansas State. I love this take on Baylor because I think that we lose sight of the fact that the schedule they've played has been so difficult. And I got another one that'll hit you with sticker shock from Bilas's rankings. And these are my guys. This is my squad. I actually, the day I got engaged was the day I did the Houston, Colorado game. And my fiance, who I can say now, was sitting behind me after the game. So there's an interview with me, Scott Williams, and we talked to Kelvin Sampson. And I've just had a man crush on Kelvin Sampson forever. Clearly I have a crush on Christy because I asked her to marry me. And she's sitting behind me in the picture. So I got a picture. I never do this stuff ever. Like I think like, oh, I should get that picture made or whatever. I actually had the picture blown up. So it's a picture of me, Scott Williams, Kelvin Sampson in the middle, and Christy in the back. I love Kelvin Sampson. That picture will stay on my wall for as long as people will allow it to. And here is Jay Bilas' take on Houston. He's got him ranked 3rd. Okay. Yet again, Houston leads the nation in playing hard. Couldn't agree more. The Cougars lost early to Auburn and dropped 3 other games in overtime. So they lost to Auburn, and all 3 of the other losses are in overtime. Auburn's the best team in the country. And they rank in the top 3 in effective defensive efficiency. The biggest difference between this Houston team and the old ones, we've talked about this, the team can shoot. Houston ranks 3rd in the nation among high major teams in 3-point shooting accuracy, 40%. Okay, now I bring up Baylor and I bring up Houston because of this. Kansas lost again last night. Okay, they're sort of like, as much as Bill Self can be, they're in free fall. They lost by 30 points to an unranked opponent. I'm a former stats guy, a former PR guy who I used to write game notes for a living, right? For basketball games. Like, you're deep into the stats, deep. I've definitely gotten away from that, but I've done talent stats, or used to do talent stats before I did play-by-play. I love a good stat, but a lot of stats I feel like we're over. It's just the saturation with stats. It's like enough already, analytic stats. But I saw a stat about Kansas. It's the first time since 1949 they have lost to an unranked opponent by 30 points. That's interesting. Like, that tells me something, especially since it's their second road loss in 4 games. And Seth Greenberg was on SportsCenter this morning, and he said something that really piqued my interest and got me thinking. He talked about the transfer portal and how you have to act so quickly as a head basketball coach to find these guys in the portal that you really don't even know who you're getting. And that could be a possibility with what we're seeing right now with Kansas. And there's so much talent on the roster, but the talent has really not figured out a way to play with one another so far. Bill Self is one of the best coaches in college basketball, but Bill Self is also, when you have the resources and you have when you're Kansas, really, you have the pick of the litter talent-wise usually with these players. And other schools, be it a Houston or a Baylor may be even a little different because Baylor's blue chip after blue chip. But I'll tip my cap to Scott Drew here because he's a proud papa of the Baylor program, much like Kelvin Sampson is a proud papa of the Houston program. With both of those programs, there is a family feel. I don't care. People can say, "Oh, there's infighting at Baylor this year." Some guy, I don't look. Those problems are everywhere. They're everywhere. It's to the degree of how many problems do you have? It's almost like family drama, right? Like everybody has family drama. We've seen it throughout for my entire life, whether it's the Clinton family or the Cosby family, right? Like anybody who you see have this amazing success or talent or whatever, there is going to be dysfunction in families everywhere. How bad is your family dysfunction? How are you handling your family dysfunction? I hate to say this, but like the dysfunction at Arizona State right now is at like a 10 out of 10, right? It sucks. And I love Bobby Hurley and I hope they can turn it around, but they've got like a huge payroll. I compared it to blue chips earlier this week. And they've just got, they're not getting a return on investment because like these guys are all assembled together and they just aren't quite sure how to play with one another. And there's not really, I don't know what the culture is there. There is culture at Baylor. There is culture at Houston. Is there culture at Kansas? There's a winning tradition. And I almost think it's an embarrassment of riches that can almost lead to trouble sometimes, like fool's gold. Like you have the best players in the country that you can pick from. And sometimes personalities and, aren't really taken into consideration. Maybe it's more so we're focused on the talent of the player as far as the type of person that we're recruiting. Because the turnaround is so quick, you really don't have the time to canvass the area because before you know it, a guard who you recruited a little bit, but you didn't know was going to jump in the portal has just bounced and wants to leave Purdue. And now they're available. And now it's like, oh my God, like this guy's available and we hear he wants to go to Kansas and we can afford him. There's a lot of, so here's where we're at. I think it's like a crossroads. Like, could we potentially see, because of the climate as it is today with the NIL and with the transfer portal, and I think that they're going to fix this, the NCAA will, and I hope they do. And for guys like Bill Self, I think that will be welcomed because Bill Self is an amazing coach. Bill Self is an amazing guy. But Bill Self isn't a general manager, And so it's interesting. Jarrett Stidham said this yesterday about Bill Belichick as to why he thinks he'll succeed at North Carolina, because he's done it for decades at the pro level. This is a different deal now for a lot of these college coaches. And I'm not shocked that someone of Bill Self's ilk could be struggling with a flow and a chemistry. And I don't know I'm not a Kansas beat writer. I'm not, embedded with what's going on. I haven't done a Kansas game this year, but it wouldn't strike me as totally mind-blowing if there was a little dysfunction there because of the fact that we've thrown all these pieces together based on what? Based on their talent. And a lot of times it's like when you used to play NBA 2K, and I would assemble. I can relate it to when I worked for the Charlotte Bobcats. We had Emeka Okafor, Adam Morrison, Sean May, Raymond Felton. It was so exciting. Like it would have been a lineup that you would have put together on 2K, and they sucked together, right? It's just like, I'm not a general manager. I don't know how to do that. There's something to a team where you can't just assemble, and not like those guys were the best guys in the NBA, but they were certainly attractive college names, and there was a lot of anticipation around seeing them all play together. But you need the dogs, dude. You need the Juwan Roberts, who began his career playing at Houston at 6'6", 190 and is now 6'8", 245. And the moment the ball hits the deck, he's going down to grab it. There's no thought. There's nothing. It's instinct. And I think some of these teams are lacking some of that commitment and some of that culture mentality that leads to family, which can lead to ultimate victory. Zach Burke has pants on today. That means it is cold as shit outside. That is all you need to know. Zach just walked in. God, we love Zach. We're going to take a break now. We're coming back with one of the all-time guests we've ever had. Bear the truth, baby.